in Hong Kong, and now some people believe the U.S. should open its doors for refugees from Hong Kong. Why? Nate Hochman is a fellow with the Dispatch and an associate contributor at Young Voices. He's up late with me on the Final Five. First time on the show. Nate, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to me about this op-ed you wrote. It's in the Dispatch, and you make the argument that Hong Kong, which has been really a hotspot of activity for the Chinese government to crack down on protesters, crack down on dissent, you're saying that the U.S. government should make a concerted effort to encourage Hong Kong protesters, young professionals, to come to the United States.
That's right, Jim. You know, for months, we've seen thousands of young Hong Kongers, young men and women, risking their lives at great personal cost to themselves to stand up and to fight the Chinese Communist Party and to protest to try to protect their liberties, their democratic rights. And while they've been doing that, we've seen them fly the American flag, sing the national anthem, talk about everything that they feel like America stands for. And these are clearly people who are willing to put their lives on the line to stand up for the things that the American flag stands for, and to stand up for liberty, self-governance, the things that this country was founded on.
So go ahead, Nate.
Well, it's a group of thousands of young Hong Kongers who are clearly committed to the principles that this country is organized around. And I think that's exactly the group of people that we should be looking to bring to this country.
So for people who are not paying attention to the situation, and let's be honest, I think a lot of people are, including, admittedly, I don't think everybody in the media is paying attention to it, but you have a situation where you have the dynamic between China and Hong Kong, and you have the U.S. right now at odds, it seems, with this new Cold War with China, whether it comes down to trade, intellectual property, whatever. I mean, talk about this triangle we have between the U.S. and China and Hong Kong.
Yeah, so the Chinese Communist Party has been trying, one of its major ambitions has been to crack down on Hong Kong, which has been a semi-autonomous region for decades. Hong Kong has enjoyed an enormous amount of liberty, some amount of democratic self-governance, even though it's technically part of China. And while coronavirus has been ravaging the world, the CCP has taken that as an opportunity to finally crack down on Hong Kong. And there's been an enormous amount of police brutality. There's been widespread arrests of pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong. You know, for this piece, I spoke to a lot of the pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. These are young people, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, people my age, who are willing to do anything and everything, put their entire lives on hold, risk their bodily well-being to stand up for their freedom in Hong Kong. And that's exactly the values that America was founded on. They clearly understand that because they talk so much about what America means to them. And that's why in the event that the CCP continues to crack down and we see a lot of refugees fleeing from Hong Kong, America should open our borders to them and say, come here, come settle, come bring all the values that you've clearly expressed in Hong Kong and make a new life here.
Nate, you know, this is a tough sell for a lot of people who embrace the fact that the Trump administration has been has cracked down on legal immigration as well. There was obviously the big kerfuffle that came to a head this week when they reversed course on international visas for students. So how do you sell that to people who are skeptical about allowing more refugees into the United States? I mean, how do you sell that as a way that would be advantageous for everybody?
Yeah, well, it's a couple things, I think, Jim. Obviously, we can't open our borders to everybody. There are millions, if not billions, of oppressed people who are suffering from state persecution throughout the world. As much as I'd love to allow them all into America, that's just not feasible. The difference is twofold. First of all, Hong Kongers were raised in a liberal democracy. They were raised in a capitalist free market system. There is a lot in common with Hong Kong society with America. And one thing that a lot of immigration restrictionists are concerned about, and I think there's some legitimacy to it, is when you bring in large swaths of people from societies that aren't liberal democracies, that don't have democratic or freedom-oriented cultures, it's much more difficult to assimilate them in large numbers. But Hong Kongers really understand exactly how a liberal democracy functions. Secondly, we're in a new Cold War with China. China is our enemy. Let's not let's not mince words about that. The People's Republic of China is our enemy. And just like when we were in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, we gave preferential treatment to Cuban immigrants fleeing communist Cuba to try to show to the world the superiority of our liberal democratic American political system to the communist one. We should be seeking to show rather than tell the rest of the world the superiority of the American system to the Chinese Communist Party system by allowing in Hong Kongers who are fleeing from China to come to America.
Nate, you bring up some good points. I'm going to tweet out a link to your op-ed from the Dispatch. And by the way, I believe, I haven't checked with the judges yet, but you may win the award for most dramatic backlighting. That is some good lighting there you have tonight, my friend. Good to see you. Nate Hochman, we're back after this in the Final Five.